Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Shrapitam Jena Bhutale Shaimurupakadamayam Karati Shapadantutam Mukam Karati Vacharam Sangulangaite Girim Yakhapatamaham Bande Siguru Dinatarinam Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Rishtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Shamini Tinamani Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvisesa Sunyavari Paschati Sacharini Mancha Kalpaturvista Upashanduvyeva Cha Patithanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivashri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Today is Bahulastami. There was a bull named Bahula. Do you know about him? On this day, Krishna had a leela with this bull. Krishna tested if this bull, or yeah, I think it was a bull or a cow, was saintly. I know nothing more about it because it's not explained in Prabhupada's books. I couldn't find details other than that. But today is the day that Mahaprabhu, when he went to Vrindavan and then went to where is now Radhakund, saw a little pond, a little bit of water, and he went in that water and he said, "This is Radhakund." Today's the day that happened. So that was a small 12 by 12 little area, and then Raghunath Das Goswami, Jiva Goswami, they built Kunda, as we know it now. And some people told me today is the appearance day of Radha Kund, but the actual appearance day was April 18th, or anyway, it's in April. It's the full moon, March, April. That's the actual day that Radha Kund appeared, at midnight. Because the Leela that Krishna had with the gopis, it took place in the evening. And finally when we can tell the story later, but finally when the gopis got around to creating their kunda, it was at midnight. So now, I found some very interesting information. Now, on this day in Radhakund, there's a tradition, Radha Kunda, there's a tradition to bathe at midnight. But that's not when Mahaprabhu discovered it. But what I found was that on this day, women who are not fertile do a certain puja to a certain goddess. And part of that puja is to take bath at midnight in Radhakund. So it became a thing. Maybe confused with the appearance day. Anyway, so just to clarify that. But before we talk about it, when we were reading the prayers to Damodar, I got excited about the verse Kuverat Majo, Badha Mocha Diyadba. And I started thinking about something, and I just wanted to express that. Because I think it's important. The sons of Kuvera, their only qualification, if they had one, was that they were sons of Kuvera. But other than that, I don't know if you call it a qualification, but they took birth in a good family, we could say. And the problem of taking birth in a good family, if there's a lot of money, you could end up like Nala Kuvera Manigriva, spoiled. And in fact, Prabhupada said this in Los Angeles in a lecture that I fortunately was present for. He said, if you don't become Krishna conscious in this life, if you practice bhakti, then you will take birth either on higher planets or you take birth here in either a Brahmin family or a wealthy family. And I grew up in Los Angeles, so immediately I had this vision of Beverly Hills. I go, oh, I was thinking, well, if I don't become Krishna conscious, I'll take birth in Beverly Hills. But above Beverly Hills, it's even nicer. It's called Bel Air. So when you become a movie star or a brain surgeon, you can live in Bel Air. That's where they live. So I started having these visions. And I grew up near Beverly Hills, and so I had friends there, and I knew what it was like. And I had many friends who I would say were born in wealthy families and quite spoiled. So Prabhupada said, you may take birth in an aristocratic family to continue your devotional service, but if you're in that environment, you may get deviated because you're the son of a wealthy person. And often, the sons or daughters of wealthy persons become spoiled. So, Nalaka and Varamani Griva were a bit like that. But as the story goes, I think the most important thing is, Narada Muni took compassion on them. He said, you're the sons of Nalaka, Varamani, Griva. You should not be in this situation. And he decided, I want to give you mercy. It wasn't negotiated. He just decided, I'm going to give mercy because that's the nature of a Vaishnava. He's full of compassion. Bangsa kalpa kripa sindhu dirgisha. He's the ocean of compassion. So to be compassionate, Vaishnava doesn't need a reason to be compassionate. Like, oh, you've given me a beautiful sweater today. Next week I'll come back and I'll be nice to you and give you something. He doesn't need a reason. Takaharidas is being beaten. He's compassionate. Or Jesus Christ is being crucified. He's compassionate. Ambarish Maharaj, he's being completely offended by Durvasa Muni, and he's compassionate to Durvasa. There's so many stories like that. Doesn't need a reason. He just is. That's his nature. So he decides to be compassionate, and now we understand from this story that when a pure devotee asks Krishna to fulfill a desire they have, Krishna basically becomes bound to fulfill that. Well, how do we know that? Well, Krishna fulfilled the desire of Brahma to make all these exceptions for Hiranyakashipu, and so Krishna, he had to come as Nrsingadev at the right time, the right place, and fill all the conditions. And then Krishna said, don't do this again, because when my devotee does this, then I have to do what they say. And you made all these conditions, so I had to do it. So we know that. And one time, I believe it was Lokanath Maharaj, he asked Srila Prabhupada, what Shastra is this number, 16 rounds? What Shastra? And Prabhupada said, no Shastra. Where did it come from? He said, I don't know if Prabhupada said I made it up, but he said, this is what I decided. And some of us know the story. He wanted us to chant more, but anyway, he said at least 16. And many, many times, Prabhupada promised us, and to our disbelief, that if we would chant 16 rounds and follow the 4 regular principles throughout our life, we would go back to Godhead. He said it at different times, in different ways. Now we kind of feel pretty unqualified. And aside from that, we feel like, well, maybe you have to do more than that. That seems like kind of easy. But anyway, Prabhupada said it, and one time, devotees were questioning him. Really? 16 rounds, 4 regular principles? Prabhupada said, yes. But they didn't believe it. They questioned. And then the third time, Prabhupada slammed his hand on the desk. He said, if you chant 16 rounds, 4 principles, I will take you back to Godhead. Emphatically. So, how do we understand that? Oh, we understand that. That's Krishna obliging Prabhupada. Here are these devotees, they're sincere but fallen. They're trying. I've given them this, only takes 2 hours. And if they chant nicely, they'll be able to follow the principles if they're sincere. So we understand from this that if you get on the good side of the pure devotee, then pretty much you win the vote, you win the race. It's like whatever you are. Or Prabhupada used to say, whatever rascal I may be, still, if I get the mercy of a pure devotee, the pure devotee petitions on behalf of Krishna. There's a sincere boy, here's a sincere girl. Then we're good. So I think this verse is an example of that. Because as we know, Nalakavera Manigriva got the darshan of Krishna. Who gets the darshan of Krishna? Just some average playboy hanging out, getting high on whatever, somaras or whatever they're doing, and hanging out with girls illicitly? No, it's not the ones who see Krishna. Premanjana charita bhakti vachanena. You have to have prema. They didn't have prema, and they were able to enter Krishna Lila. That's amazing. Right? So many lectures, Prabhupada said, one time, it's interesting, Prabhupada said, that someone would ask Prabhupada, have you seen God? And Prabhupada said, yes, and I can show you. You can see him also. And just like I am seeing you, you can see God. So he demystified it. It wasn't like, yeah, I'm seeing God, big deal, kind of thing. It's not impossible. I can show you God. So that Prabhupada used to say, if you follow Krishna consciousness, you will be able to see Krishna just like you see me. Just like I see you, you can see Krishna. Okay, Prabhupada said it. Who am I to doubt it? Prabhupada said, you can dance with Krishna. Who am I to doubt it? If you go to India, outside of ISKCON, they will say 3 lives. And so they told one spiritual master, Gaudiya spiritual master. Prabhupada said, 1 life. He said, no, not possible. No, they say, in ISKCON, they say 1 life. He said, oh, not possible. 3 lives. And so they have this discussion. And then they said, he said, but Srila Prabhupada said 1 life. He said, oh, really? And he said, Srila Prabhupada could do that. Change up the whole tradition that you can't do it in 1 life. He could do it. That's Srila Prabhupada. So this Leela, Nalakavera Manigriva, getting the mercy of Narada Muni, is just like us. We're like little Nalakaveras and Manigrivas, basically. Maybe we're like big ones, I don't know. You have to decide that. But we get the mercy. There's another thought I had. In the Bhagavatam, Prabhupada says that a conditioned soul, when they engage in sinful activities, their position is a little bit like a barrel that had liquor in it that's been cleaned out, and you could never get that odor of liquor out of the barrel no matter how much you clean it. And have you ever felt like that? I just finished my rounds today and I still smell it. The odor of Sanskrit. Yeah, that could be a kind of a discouraging purport. Don't read it too often. No, but I will try to turn it around and encourage you. So Prabhupada comes to America, and he looks at us, and he knows that we're like the barrel with the alcohol, that we have that conditioning. But he doesn't size it up and say, hopeless, no ISKCON. He says, no. If you chant 16 rounds and follow the 4 regular principles, it doesn't matter who you are. You can go back to God. And I made that arrangement with Krishna, and so you do that. And then sometimes Prabhupada said other things. You distribute books, you go back to God. He said to one head Bajari, you continue taking care of the deities like this, you go back to God. You build Mayapur, you go back to God. So many things. Right? Okay. Prabhupada said that. He must have worked that out with Krishna. Sounds good to me. So that verse reminds me of just the mercy of the pure devotee. That it's more powerful than that fragrance of, what do I call it, fragrance, the odor of alcohol. It's way more powerful than the odor of alcohol in the barrel of our heart that we often fill. So I think that's important. So Radha Kund. So we can talk about Radha Kund, although I have some reservations because the Shastra says Mathura is greater than Vaikuntha, Vrindavan is greater than Mathura, Govardhan is greater than Vrindavan, and Radha Kund is greater than Govardhan. Radha Kund is the most sacred place in the universe. Because that's the place where every day at noon, Krishna gets to meet with Radha. Unfettered, he has unfettered, just like in the days of the, storing whatever, weapons of mass destruction, they want unfettered access. So Krishna has unfettered access. Not always, but in Radhakund, he goes there at noon and he can be with Radharani. This is and when Krishna's with Radharani, that's like, it's not a Leela that's easy to understand, because as long as we are trying to imitate that Leela, we can't understand it. So Srila Bhakti Siddhanta said that you have to put Radha Kund and this Leela on your head in great awe and reverence, because it's so sacred and so pure, and we're not so sacred and pure that we could misunderstand it. So we have to approach it with the greatest awe and reverence, because it's such a sacred place. In 1975, I went to Radha Kund. It was the first time in India, and we had a pilgrimage. And as young, rowdy, unintelligent, young men, well, I don't say unintelligent. I'll tell you what they did, and you can put your own description to it. It saved me from offending anybody. The young men went in Radha Kund and started doing what young men do when they get in the water. This was like standing on one another's back and wrestling, shoving water in your face, and just doing competitive sporting in Radha Kund. So he came back to Prabhupada and very upset. And so there was something that came back that we shouldn't bathe in Radha Kund. But what Prabhupada meant was, this is such a sacred place. You don't go in Radha Kund and do water sports. So when he said don't bathe, it meant till you're qualified, and don't do this in Radha Kund. It's a sacred place. So that was our first shocking introduction to the fact that we didn't understand the sacredness of Radha Kund. So let me read a few verses here from Nectar Devotion, just to kind of remind you. You've probably all read this, but I think it's good we read it again. Put things in perspective. The holy place known as Mathura is spiritually superior to Vaikuntha, the transcendental world, because the Lord appeared there. Superior to Mathura Puri is the transcendental forest of Vrindavan, because of Krishna's Rasalila pastimes. And superior to the forest of Vrindavan is Govardhan Hill, for it was raised by the divine hand of Sri Krishna and was the site of his various loving pastimes. And above all, the super excellent Sri Radha Kunda stands supreme, for it is overflooded with the ambrosial nectarian prema of the Lord of Gokula, Sri Krishna. Where then is that intelligent person who is unwilling to serve this divine Radha Kund, which is situated at the foot of Govardhan Hill? Of the many objects, this is Nectar of Instruction, verses 9 to 11. Of the many objects of favored delight, and of all the lovable damsels of Braj Bhumi, Srimati Radharani is certainly the most treasured object of Krishna's love. And In every respect, her divine kunda is described by the great sages as similarly dear to him. Undoubtedly, Radha Kund is rarely attained even by the great devotees. Therefore, it is even more difficult for ordinary devotees to attain. If one simply bathes once within those holy waters, one's pure love of Krishna is fully aroused. And you might say, wait a minute, I bathed more than once. What happened? Well, don't give up. You have to be in the right consciousness. In the end of Nectar of Instruction, it says that, because Radhakund is so glorious, who in their right mind wouldn't want to live there? And sometimes devotees wanted to live there, but they weren't qualified because it's so sacred. And Prabhupada felt they would become degraded into breaking regulative principles, because there are some devotees of other sampradayas living there who see things a little differently than we do. And that's part of their vision is, you kind of have to have your own girlfriends to understand Krishna's Rasa Leela, something like that. So one devotee, he wanted to go to Radhakund, and Prabhupada would often say, if you break the principles in the Holy Dham, then you'll come back as a monkey. And then you can roll in the dirt, or a pig. And then you roll in the dirt and get purified. So one devotee wanted to go to Radhakund, was not qualified. And Prabhupada said, there are already enough monkeys in Radhakund. We don't need more monkeys. So that was the connotation. It's a very sacred place. But then Shastra says we should live there. Of course, we should visit there. And we should live in Radhakund, live in Radha Krishna Leela in our hearts and our minds, and then distribute Radhakund. So that was Prabhupada's move. Go to Vrindavan, get purified. If you have service, you stay. Otherwise, you go out, you come to Vrindavan, get purified, you go out and you share Vrindavan. So now, okay, so a couple of verses glorifying Radhakund. Would you like to hear them? Raghunath Das Goswami. Not even Sri Vrindavan, which is supremely delightful because of places like the rasa-filled Rasastali or Srimad Govardhan, which is the arena of the nectarian ras, where the most confidential amorous pastimes, Keli Krida, of the divine couple take place, are equal to even a shadow of a particle of the glories of Sri Radha Kunda. What to speak of other pastime places within Brajamandala. I take shelter of this Sri Radha Kunda, which is more dear to Sri Mukunda than his own life. Now Radha Kund is not different than Radha. Shama Kund is not different than Sham Sundar. So this is where all the love is. It's right here. One time our God sister Rukmini said, this was for non-devotees, but it was such a beautiful thought. She said, in the center of the universe is a love affair. She said, just imagine that. The center of the universe is a love affair between Radha and Krishna. And this is it, Radha Kund. So, Janma karma chame divyam evam yoveti tattvataha. To understand Krishna, his birth and his Leela, is not easy. You have to pay a price. And if you don't pay the price, you won't understand it. And it'll be there, but you won't see it. The holy name will be there. The deity will be there. It'll look like stone. Your japa will feel like you're eating stones. Or there's stones pounding on your head. Hare Krishna, Hare. Everything will feel like stone. Because the heart is like stone. We see stone, we feel stone. if ever you're chanting japa and you feel like, this feels like stone, it's not the problem that the holy name is like stone. It's the heart's like stone. So the price to pay to understand Radha Krishna Leela, what's the price? You have to stop, we have to stop trying to imitate Krishna and Radha. And that's our disease. Every attraction in this world is it's just that desire. Every desire for sense gratification, ultimately, it's coming from that desire. I want to be like Krishna, and I want to enjoy. And when you come to that point, you're totally purified, then the sacredness of that Leela, of this place, the nectarian rasa that's emanating from it, then you get to experience it. Otherwise, if that lust is there, it deprives us. So by our own lust, we deprive ourselves of the ability to experience rasa. So we actually torture ourselves by our own lust. And we think, oh, I'm going to get some enjoyment from this body. No, the enjoyment is in hearing about Krishna. And then, by hearing about Krishna, you can enjoy. You can actually enjoy the Leela by hearing about it. Otherwise, you can enjoy your body, but you can't enjoy your body and the Leela. They don't work together. You have to, of course we have to take care of our body, enjoy it, so to speak, to maintain it. But this is the price we pay for lust. It disqualifies us to understand what is Radha and Krishna because we're trying to imitate them. You can't understand them while trying to imitate them. So, sometimes devotees ask this question, what I call the fourth regulative principle. No illicit sex. And, they say, well, it's, when you're married, it's kind of hard always, and my answer is similar. I say, if you want, I said the goal is Shuddhanam, and if you want Shuddhanam, you have to be Shuddha. Shuddha means pure. If you want to chant Shuddhanam, you have to be Shuddha. So okay, we understand, we have desires and so many. We understand that. We're human, we're in a body, it's difficult. But ultimately, say, is it sinful? Is it wrong? Whatever. I don't want to discuss that. But the point is, if you want something Shuddha, you have to be Shuddha. So if you want experience the Shuddha, the pure nectar of the pure name, you have to be Shuddha. If you want to understand the pure Leela, you have to be Shuddha. So, someone might say, but it's not really sinful because within marriage. Whatever. Another discussion. But Shuddha. If you're not Shuddha, you have to be renounced. You have to be Shuddha. And then you can chant the Shuddha name. So, there's another verse. At Sri Radha Kunda, Sri Radha Krishna Jugala perform their midday Leela Vilas. Here they perform a variety of amorous pastimes freely and without any obstruction. This is not possible anywhere else. It's actually not a verse, I don't think. Anyway, I'll read it. Therefore, Radha Kunda is considered to be the topmost place of bhajan, superior even to Nandagram, Barshana, Vrindavana, or Govardhan. This most confidential place, surcharged with paramount bhavas, was revealed by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself, who is endowed with the bhava, sentiment, and kunti, luster of Sri Radha. Previously, Sri Madhavendra Puri, Sri Lokanath Goswami, and Sri Bhugarbha Goswami also came to Braja, where they revealed various pastimes of Krishna. But they did not reveal this confidential place, which was manifested by Sri Gaurachandra himself, who is Sri Radha and Krishna combined. So now, here Mahaprabhu comes to reveal to fallen souls of Kali Yuga, Radha and Krishna in the most intimate way. Inconceivable. Now I want to tell a story. But Narayani, I may need your help because I don't pay attention to details. So, I realized today, I was discussing with my wife, she said, you're not such a great storyteller. And I said, I'm never interested in details. I'm only interested in concepts. I'm only interested in enough details to get the concept. So, was it at night, in the day? Was it this or that? I don't always pay attention. So that's why, Narayani, I think I need your help. So, before I tell the story, the philosophy is that we bathe in Radha Kund, and if we bathe in Radha Kund, Krishna is pleased, because anything you do that will please Radha pleases Krishna. That's how you please Radha. So it's the story. I'm not sure which temple it was. Where was it? I think it was a pigeon, and the pigeon was saying, Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. And every day Krishna would come out of the temple, and he wanted Krishna to embrace him, but he wouldn't embrace him. You know that story? You know the story? Was it a pigeon? Bird? Pigeon. And what temple was it? You remember? Some temple. And Krishna was coming out every day, right? And he would say, Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. Or however pigeons say Krishna. And he was hoping, because he was saying Krishna, Krishna, the pigeon would embrace him. And every day Krishna would come out and walk by. So what was it? Some devotee said, go ask Radharani what the problem is, something like that. And so he went, and the pigeon went to the home of Radharani and said, Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. Immediately Radharani came out and embraced the pigeon. The pigeon understood. If I say, Krishna, Krishna, Radharani embraces me, so if I say Radha, Radha, Radhe, Radhe, Krishna will embrace me. So then went back, and then said, Radhe, Radhe, immediately Krishna embraced him. So, if you want to please Krishna, you say Radha. If you want to please Radha, you say Krishna. Fortunately, we have the Hare Krishna mantra. Everybody's taken care of. But this is the high level of Gaudiya philosophy that the Gaudiyas want the mercy of Radha. That's what they want, more than anything. They want to please Radha. That's their goal. So they'll go to Radhakund, but they'll bathe in Shamakund, because they know if they bathe in Shamakund, Radharani is pleased. And once there was a man, I think he was a king or a political leader, and he was doing Dandavat Parikrama of Shamakund, and the devotees told Bhaktisiddhanta, look at him, what was, you know the story? He was a what? Yeah, he was a king. So they're saying, look at him, he's doing Dandavat Parikrama of Shamakund, what a great devotee he is. And Bhaktisiddhanta said, our position is different. He said, we will worship Shamakund because Radharani likes it. That's it. Thank you. He said, we will worship Shamakund because that will please Radharani. He said, our position is different. We have a different mentality. So we should tell the story, right? At least briefly. This story is quite funny because there's one demon, a bull demon, his name was Arista. And the demons are given the surname Asura. So, Aristasura. It's kind of fun. You don't like somebody, you call them their name and tell them, give them the surname Asura. Bob Asura. You're a demon, Bob Asura. Whatever. You may want to give that last name to the political leaders you don't like, but anyway, so his name was Arista, but as a demon, Aristasura. So he comes in, this bull, creating havoc in Vrindavan. He was sent by Kamsa and tried to kill Krishna, create havoc. And so Krishna took care of him, as Krishna does. And so the pastimes of Krishna and the gopis and the cowherd boys, they're filled with humor, because after all, what do you like to do when you hang out with your friends? Isn't it true when you hang out with your friends, you're always joking and laughing? And sometimes young boys, maybe when they get older, not so much when they're younger, they like to do pranks on girls. It's like, it's just fun. You ever did that when you were young? Yeah, more than once. Yeah, it's fun. So their leelas are like that. That's where we all learn to do that. That's where we're like that because they're like that. So they say, Krishna, you have to take bath in all the sacred rivers for the sin of killing Arista. And Krishna said, but he was a demon. He said, doesn't matter, he was a bull. Krishna said, okay. I'm like, how am I going to do this? I can't go to all the sacred rivers. And Krishna says, okay, I'll just bring all the sacred rivers here. So Krishna, starts making a hole with his foot, digging it. And he calls all the sacred rivers. And they come, but the gopis don't see them. He said, yeah, I did it. And he goes, what do you mean you did it? Where are they? Then he calls them, they're already there. And then they appear. The gopis see them and then fills up with water. There it is. Takes his bath. Krishna comes out and says, I'm good. He said, but you saw me kill the cow, kill the bull, so you're contaminated. You need your own kunda. So they're like, okay, take off the bangles, start digging. And the Radharani's, okay, we'll go to Manasi Ganga. Manasi Ganga is the Ganga that came by Krishna's meditation into Vrindavan. When Krishna wanted to bathe in Vrindavan, there's no Ganga. So they're taking pots and assembly line, and Krishna said, no, I'll call all the rivers. Make it easy for you, take compassion. So he called all the rivers, and there's Radhakund. And so Radharani likes to bathe in Shamkund, and Krishna likes to bathe in Radhakund. So they had fun. And they always have fun. And now it's 6 o'clock, and the fun's over. At least this much fun is over. But I think we could have a little discussion. If anyone wants to add anything or subtract anything I said, if I said something wrong. But one thing I just wanted to encourage you with, that, sometimes it's so depressing. You're discussing Krishna Katha, you're having kirtan, and it's like, time's up. You have to stop. And I just want to encourage you to go back to Godhead, because when you go there, you have all the time you want to hear and chant. It's so much better than it is here. You will never be frustrated. But here it's always like, then I have to eat, and then it's like 9 o'clock, and I'm tired. Everything has to stop. Just go there, No, nothing obstructed. Okay, so it's 6 o'clock. We will stop. And any of you have any questions or comments?
I thought
discussion points.
I thought Gaur Govinda Maharaj's embankment of separation, he says that we feel frustration, but actually that is required. In the spiritual world, that is there in a form of separation.
Yes.
And he said the separation actually makes the love alive. Yes. So to keep the love more relishable, the separation is to require. So we should not be frustrated if the class is stopped. We should be feeling missing.
Separation, yeah, that's true. I think we can feel both. Separation and frustration, I think they kind of go together, don't they? But the difference isn't the difference that when you're feeling separation from, well, maybe it's the same. You're feeling separation from Krishna, there's no separation because you're meditating on him. But when you're feeling separation from Bhagavatam class, there's no Bhagavatam class. By meditating on it, it's still not there. So anyway, but it's nice. Like devotees who go to Vrindavan or live in Vrindavan, often they bring pictures back because they feel separation from Vrindavan, and so they chant and look at other pictures. And I'm normally, every year I would be in Mayapur. We usually would be 6 to 9 months in Mayapur. And I'm very used to living there. And I have so many things I do there, and so it's nice to meditate on it. Like we're not there, but we're there and separated. You're glad I'm here. I don't know if I'm glad. All right. Yeah, I'm also happy to be here. I'm able to do many things I can't do when I travel, so that's nice. Okay, so any questions, comments?
Anyone has a comments, questions, reflections? Everybody's convinced?
Everyone wants to go to, everyone wants to go to Radhakund now for next Bahulastam. If you, thank you. If you, it said one shloka, I forget where, maybe Padma Purana, if you bathe in Radhakund on this day, you can please Krishna. So it's like sometimes it's very easy to please Krishna. Just take a bath in Radhakund on this day and Krishna's happy.
The nectar of instruction text 11, Prabhupada put it there. 10 in the part put that sloka.
Yeah. You can please Krishna. Okay. So maybe we can bathe in our mind. We can imagine those who've been to Radhakund can go there in their minds and take baths. Tonight, if you're up at, put your alarm for midnight. No, actually, we know you don't have to wait till midnight. You can bathe anytime. I think Mahaprabhu bathed there at noon when he found it. Okay. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.